Alright guys, everybody's seen the cat can stove and it works pretty well with smaller pots. But let's say you've got a little larger pot that you're going to use on your next hike trip. What if it's a little bigger? Is it going to sit on that cat can stove just as well? Well, I want to show you an alternative to an alcohol stove that just might work for you. Okay guys, what I have here is I'm going to show you an alternative to that cat can stove. Again, you know, everybody knows the cat can stove works well on these narrow pots. But let's say you've got a little larger pot. There are some others out there that doesn't quite fit and you don't feel quite as comfortable with that narrow base. Well, this is a tuna can stove. So, and it works pretty well holding about any size pot that you would want to work with. It actually will work with this. Now the flame does go more up the side, but I have used it with this pot and it does work fairly well. But basically all we're doing is we're going to take the tuna can and turn it into this. Okay, a couple little details with this tuna can stove. First off, when I opened up the tuna and obviously used it to make a sandwich, basically I took a safety cutter and cut along the outside. I didn't cut on the top with a normal can opener. I used the outside safety cutter. That's no sharp edges, but there's a reason for that, and we'll get to that here in a second. But after we take that apart and we get that cut along the safety with the safety cutter, we're going to remove the label. Now there is going to be some stuff left over, and with this one, I did use a high temperature spray paint. It's a like a grill touch-up spray paint, but I didn't actually spray paint it until I used this a couple times and just burnt the rest of that off just to kind of make it look a little cosmetically better. But once you get the labels peeled off, then you're going to have to use either a couple different things. You can use a nail and a hammer and punch a hole. You could use a paper hole punch. It's just tin. It might be a little tough to squeeze, but if you've got a pretty hefty paper hole punch, it will punch through it. Or you can use a drill bit and a drill, and then you can actually mark, and you're going to put random holes along the outside. So you may want to measure them out and make them even. For this demonstration, I'm just going to go through and try to get close to the same spot, but it's not going to be scientific here. Okay, we got the holes drilled in what's going to be our top can, and basically we're going to need to file that down a little bit. Some of these edges are a little rough from the drill. Paper hole punch would probably be a little smoother, but just to do that, it doesn't take much. Just a couple whisks with a file, and it's good. I've also used a bench grinder and just ran it across and smoothed it over, and it doesn't take long at all. So, but we're going to go ahead and get some of these little tacks and some of these little sharp edges off, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, we got the top holes drilled. So basically we have 2, 3, 4 vented holes and then a main hole in the center. That's where we'll use to pour the alcohol in. So that will actually go on top and inside this can. So in the way to do it, which I'll show you here, but before we get to that, you'll notice on the top can, make sure your holes on the sides are up towards the top, so that way they're going to line up with the ones on the bottom. And don't worry if they don't line up exactly. I can show you how we can take care of that here in a second. But how we're going to get this to fit is very simple. A pair of needle nose pliers. You're going to crimp the sides and twist. Crimp the sides and twist. And you're going to keep doing that. And what that is doing, that's making the can more of a V. It's coming down, it's shrinking the bottom, so that way it's going to fit inside, and when you compress it together, it's going to be locked and sealed in place, and it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to do this, and then we'll be right back. Now, you may have to do this a couple times, try to get it to fit, then go back to this technique again. But once you get it in, it's not going to come apart. So we're going to keep working on this and keep going around. And then I promise you it's not going to be perfect on the first time, so we're just a hair off, so just a little more. Okay, we might be able to get it to squeeze in there now. Yep. Oh, just a little too far here. Let's pull that back out. Nice thing about tin, if it squishes in, it's easy to fix. Alright, so we're now in there, and now when we go to compress it in, we have our tuna can stove. Now, some of these holes aren't lining up exactly perfect, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my drill, and I'm just going to open them up a little bit more. Just try to get them back in place and get them cleared out. So once you do that, then your holes are lined up. So we'll go right back to that here in 1 second. Alright, and there you have it, guys. That's the tuna can stove. So a little different than the cat can stove. I don't know if this has been out there before, just something I kind of created because I want something a little more stable. I did use it on a couple of hikes. So far, I used it on a 4-dayer, I've used it on a 2-dayer, worked great. You know, obviously the alcohol I use is denatured alcohol, so that's one thing that I find burns super clean. I'm not a big fan of the heat. I think it burns a little dirty. A couple other things, you know, I might use with it. If you need a windscreen, there's a couple things you can also make. 88-cent pizza pan. You can get it at Walmart. But basically, you can, if you cut your sheet, then you fold the edges and hammer them down, it makes a great little windscreen, and it's not going to bend over. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It's about 2 ounces. It's a lot heavier than what some people may make, is, you know, a windscreen out of a cake pan or a drip pan. Those are virtually nothing. They work the same, but I like something a little more heft as far as being able to withstand if it is windy. I want it to be able to stand up, so I just don't have a lot of confidence with that. It's not like my pack's heavy anyways. I think my total weight's going to be about 24 to 25 pounds, including food and water, for a 3-4 day trip. But it does work really well. What I usually carry my alcohol in, it's actually a cough syrup bottle, about 6 ounces. And a couple reasons why. One, it's made for liquids, so you know it's not going to spill. And two, it's a child-proof cap, so it's not going to come loose in your pack. So I have seen, you know, people using the water pods or the 20-ounce water bottle. I just kind of prefer a couple of these. They'll pack nice and light, or nice and small, and then you don't have to worry about them coming loose unless you actually push and twist. Then I mark it with some red athletic tape, so that's obviously tells me what that is. Then I usually take along a little cough syrup cap that usually comes with that, and that's how I measure out my alcohol and pour it in. So that's it. So there you go. Tuna can stove.